deep breath. This is a Porsche Panamera Turbo S e-hybrid Sport Turismo. And this is the 918 Spyder. And being a hypercar, you might not think it's got much in common with the Panamera. But back when this was launched, which was only 4 years ago, this was the most complex car Porsche had ever made. Not anymore, it's not. Here's a couple of stats for you. Lurking underneath the skin of the 918 are around 55 electronic control units. In the Panamera, 119. In total, the 918 is governed by about 10 million lines of code. And that's a lot. It only takes about 30 million lines of code to keep the average Boeing in the air. The Panamera? That's programmed with 100 million lines of code. Porsche believes it might well be the most complex car they will ever build. Why? Because it's a hybrid, and integrating the electric motors and internal combustion engine of a hybrid is more complicated than doing it for a pure electric car. So clearly the Mission E is going to be a piece of cake. The two cars aren't the same underneath. The 918 uses two electric motors, one between the V8 engine and twin-clutch gearbox, and one on the front axle. In total, they deliver around 280 horsepower of electric thrust. Get this though, before Porsche settled on the final engineering of the 918, the ideas for it were much more far out. At one stage, it had a four-cylinder engine with about 295 horsepower, acting as a constant generator for 4 electric motors, one on each wheel. The Panamera uses a single 135 horsepower electric motor, embedded within the gearbox casing. That casing is the same on all Panameras, and on the non-hybrids, it's actually mostly empty space. To drive, they're very different as well. Let's just back off a second because I want to show you something. Slow right down and we'll stick it in third, okay? We are doing 20 miles an hour. Right, because what I love about it, you hit the throttle, ready? And you get this fast hit of electric, and then this progressive handover to the stellar naturally aspirated V8 that revs to over 9,000. It's just fabulous. The Panamera, that's much less dramatic. You either have the electricity on, in which case you have a top speed of 87 miles an hour and a range of about 20 miles, or you have it off, which brings the twin-turbo V8 into play, and then you have 680 horsepower and the ability to hit 60 in about 3.4 seconds. But the Panamera, it's no 918 to drive. I mean, this thing may be helped along by 280 horsepower of electric. It's quite a lot. But the stars of the show here got to be that carbon chassis, the snake's belly ground clearance, and most of all, this astonishing naturally aspirated V8. The 918 doesn't have everything its own way though. There's one thing the Panamera does better, and that's brake. Now, not the high speed stuff, because the 918 is stellar at that, but at low speeds it's very grabby, and the Panamera is better there. It's smoother and more progressive. Clearly a few more million lines of code might have helped the 918 there. But we need a conclusion, and I've got just the thing. Let's have a drag race. And the winner gets to call itself not just the fastest Porsche hybrid production car ever, but the best. Oh, it had better be the 918. Right. Let's go and find a driver and a Panamera. So here we are, lined up alongside a Panamera. I figured one of these before. It did 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds and 100 in 5 seconds flat. Let me show you what that looks like. Okay, right. Panamera's toast. There's the gantry, yeah, we're all done.